So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Hello, back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Monday, March 8th. Hope everyone's having a good day so far and a good rest of their day. Yesterday, it is in fact Monday, March 8th. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend as well. We are coming out of another packed sports weekend once again. A lot of very good sports were on this weekend. Kentucky got a nice win to secure their spot in the SEC tournament. The Rangers got a really nice win on Saturday, won 6-3. Yesterday came flat out, looked embarrassing, had a really good start, and we let up 3 goals in 61 seconds, and there was no looking back. The Penguins ended up dominating us the rest of the game, 5-1, and we were not able to win. So, the Rangers this season have gone dominated by the Penguins. I mean, we've just gotten torched by the Penguins. We've played, I think, 5 games against them this season. We're 1-4 or 1-3-1, something like that. We've gotten torched by the Penguins this season. We've won once against them. And then the Penguins are a good hockey team, but, I mean, you would at least expect maybe to get 1 or 2. I mean, we're just getting torched by the Penguins this year. It's the weirdest thing. All these other teams, the Islanders, the Devils, even the Bruins we've beaten a couple times, the Flyers we've beaten a couple times. Like, all these other teams we've been able to beat a couple times. It's just something about the Penguins, we can't beat them. We beat them once this year. Something about the Penguins we just can't beat. So, we got to find a way to get better. We got a game tomorrow, no game today. Not much on today, to be honest. Not much college basketball. I know Gonzaga plays later, but not much college basketball. College basketball is in a little bit of a halt right now for the next 2 to 3 days because then you get the conference tournaments to come up. So not much basketball during the week until about Wednesday, Thursday. Nets are obviously still off until Thursday. Rangers have a day off today. Kentucky doesn't play till Thursday as well, as they have a day game on Thursday against Mississippi State for the first game of their SEC tournament, as they've got to win the SEC tournament in order to get to the March Madness. So we'll see how that plays out. Hopefully they win it, obviously. And I've been saying this, I hope Kentucky wins it, obviously, but even just to make the March Madness. Obviously, I would love this team to go all the way and win it all, and obviously that would be amazing, but it's probably not going to happen. Definitely not going to happen. So just to make the March Madness, I think would be excellent. And Kentucky could still make the March Madness. It just requires a miracle. We need to win the SEC tournament, and then we need to get there. So, not much sports on today, but coming out of the weekend, it was a packed sports weekend. Yankees got a good win yesterday. Gary Sanchez has been playing really, really well. I don't know. He changed his swing. They said he fixed stuff. I didn't believe it really because, they said that last year about his defense and about his swing, how he was fixed it and he should look better, and he had a terrible year. But he's obviously really fixed it, and he's looking really good right now, and he's looking scary, and that's really exciting for fans like me and many other Yankees fans out there to know that he's starting to play really good. And currently right now, I said, take the hot hand, and currently right now, he is the hot hand. Gardner had a grand slam yesterday too. Stanton's hitting well. Guys all over the place are hitting well. Gardner with a grand slam. Sanchez is hitting amazing. Stanton had 2 doubles. What have I said on this podcast? Be patient with Giancarlo Stanton. Don't just all of a sudden hate on him. Be patient with Giancarlo Stanton. I've said this on the podcast. And I know it's only spring training. I don't want to overreact. But I said Stanton, if he stays healthy, he's one of the more dominant players in the MLB. Be patient on Stanton. Right? You got to be patient with him. I've said this. His first year with the Yankees, he played a lot of games. And he did pretty well. Right? He did well with us. Second season didn't. Last season didn't either. He's healthy. He's amazing. And a lot of people expect him to be healthy this year. So just stay patient with Stanton. Sanchez looks good. These are the topics for today. Blake Griffin back-to-back podcasts. This doesn't always happen often, but sometimes it does. But Blake Griffin got released by the Pistons on Friday, or Thursday actually. I talked about it on Friday. And then I believe yesterday, actually, the Nets signed him. So the Nets signed Blake Griffin. They signed the 6-time All-Star. In his prime was one of the best and most athletic players in the NBA. He is no longer in his prime. He is getting older. But I will tell you why I like this deal for the Brooklyn Nets. And I said on Friday I would like the deal if it was under a certain circumstance. And the Nets did that. I said if it wasn't a lot of money and if we're just signing him for the remainder of the year, I said I would like the deal. I said if we go out and give him way too much money and we sign him for long term, I said I wouldn't like the deal. We went out, we signed him for the remainder of the season. We're giving him $1.2 million, not much money at all, and he's going to join what already is a three-headed monster in Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving, and now we add Blake Griffin. Now, the name is much bigger than the way he has played, but I still very like the way Blake Griffin has played, and I still very, very, very like that. I like the fact that he is a Brooklyn Net. So, we'll get into that. Then we'll get into Jay Cody Rizzi and the Astros. He signs a deal with the Astros. I said on Thursday as well. I said on Friday with Jackie Bradley Jr. I said, who knows what's going to happen with Jay Cody Rizzi? Sure enough, Jay Cody Rizzi signs with the Astros. He's the final big free agent off the board. So the MLB rosters, MLB teams, free agents, all that kind of stuff is set. Jackie Bradley Jr. off the board, Jay Cody Rizzi off the board. So we are now officially set, ready to go, ready to head into the MLB season, which should be really exciting. So we'll get into that. Then we'll finish off the podcast with our normal New York sports update. With your normal, New York sports update. Nets don't play today; they are off until Thursday. Rangers have a day off. Kentucky doesn't play till Thursday either. Like I said, not too much sports on tonight. Some hockey games are on, but not too much sports on tonight. Given that college basketball tournaments don't start till middle of the week. Rangers are obviously off. Other hockey games are on. I'm sure I'll probably be catching a hockey game. Gonzaga plays today, but they play a little later. But even then, it's one game. So it's not a crazy packed sports night, but we did get spoiled over the weekend with all the sports. Obviously, college basketball through Saturday. Couple good college basketball games yesterday. Yankees played yesterday, so we have been spoiled. So I can't complain too much because we've been spoiled with sports, so I can't sit here and complain that there's no sports on tonight. Coming out of a big weekend, I guess you could have a little bit of a refresher and then back at it tomorrow with the Rangers playing. So with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So Blake Griffin officially agrees to Nets contract after Pistons buyout. Blake Griffin is officially a member of the Brooklyn Nets. This deal happened yesterday. It became official actually just a little bit ago. Obviously, the deals have got to come official. They've officially got to put pen to paper and officially sign off on the deal. That usually happens a lot, although we all know when the deal happens, they're official, but it's got to be officially official. Very rarely do you see players back out of deals. Now, this is kind of off topic, but very rarely do you see players back off of deals. So yesterday, obviously Blake Griffin, who got bought out by the Pistons, they just gave him the rest of his money, said you can leave. He was a free agent from the Detroit Pistons, was only a free agent for a couple of days. He was a pretty attractive name. I mean, he was getting benched by the Pistons, but they couldn't find a trade partner, so then they released him, and he was only a free agent for about a day or two, and he already had, I think the Lakers were one of the teams, the Bucks were one of the teams, I think the Heat and the Celtics were, and obviously the Nets were, and everyone said the Nets were the front runners, and then yesterday, so he wasn't a free agent for a long time. Blake Griffin, he was a very attractive name. He was only a free agent for he was only a free agent for like 1 to 2 days, so he was definitely an attractive name. They released him on about the Friday. Saturday was a free agent, all Friday was free agent, and yesterday he got picked up by the Brooklyn Nets. So the Nets picked him up yesterday, and I would just say about an hour or two ago before I started the podcast, I would say the Nets probably officially made it official, posting on all their social medias. He's officially on the roster. He's officially on the Brooklyn Nets roster. So Blake Griffin is now a member of the Brooklyn Nets, and obviously, the Nets being one of the teams with the big stars, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and then some of the other guys too that have really helped to this team is Bruce Brown, Nick Claxton has been heating up the past couple games, guys like Joe Harris, guys like that. So the Nets are obviously a very talented basketball team. I've talked about them pretty much every day on the podcast. We've talked about them a lot. They're a very talented basketball team with Kevin Durant, Harden, and now adding Blake Griffin. Obviously, they're second in the Eastern Conference right now, only behind the Eastern Conference leaders, Philadelphia 76ers. The Nets right now stand with a 24-13 record. And I said on Friday, I would like to get Blake Griffin over here under certain circumstances, okay? I've always said this. Blake Griffin in his prime, he was one of the most athletic and funnest, one of the most athletic, funnest isn't a word, but most athletic and some of the most fun players to watch in the entire NBA when he was in his prime. When he was with the Clippers, when he was in his prime, he was one of the most athletic, probably the most athletic players in the NBA. From his spinning dunks, from his breakaways and his big, his vertical was amazing. His three-point shot wasn't amazing. He wasn't a great three-point shooter, but that's because that's how he is. He was so good. He was so good every angle of the game. Defensively, offensively, every angle of the game. Blake Griffin was at the top of his game. And I said, he's a very good player. 6-time All-Star, obviously, all that good stuff. I said that about Blake Griffin. But when Blake Griffin got left, Los Angeles Clippers, I said, I didn't say this, but when he left the Los Angeles Clippers and signed with the Detroit Pistons, he had a really good season with the Detroit Pistons, averaged his most points per game in a season in his career with the Detroit Pistons. His first year averaged 24.5 points per game in his first season with the Detroit Pistons, and then ever since that, I would say things have started to go a little bit downhill, and he hasn't been the same Blake Griffin we've seen in a very long time. He had two knee surgeries. I believe it was two really, really big knee surgeries that held him out of the past 2 seasons. Now, the second season with the Pistons, they obviously held him out. The second season with the Pistons missed some time, and then even the third season with the Pistons, he also missed some more time, and then now we're sitting here this season, obviously playing with the Pistons, and now is on the Brooklyn Nets. So he was obviously crazy athletic, got the knee injuries, and ever since that, his stats have plummeted, and that's going to happen. It is crazy how one injury and an injury of that magnitude could really derail your career. Take your career from being at the top of your game to bringing it down to, a little bit of a low average. Now, I wouldn't say Blake Griffin isn't good anymore. I wouldn't say he's terrible. He's not the Blake Griffin we used to see, but he's also not terrible. He's still, I think, an average player. He can still go out there and give you some quality minutes, and that's what the Nets are asking for. And that's what I said on Friday. I said I would like this deal if it was under certain circumstances. And those circumstances were if we gave him a deal for the remainder of the season and we went ahead and gave him a little bit amount of money and see how it plays out. And I said, if it works, then at the end of the deal, you rework his contract and see how it goes. And if it doesn't work, then Blake Griffin goes and joins another team or whatever he decides to do with his career. If it works, we win a championship, he's a big key part of it. Boom, just like that, maybe you rework his deal and think of something else. I think this deal is really good for both parties. Not only the Nets side, but the Blake Griffin side. And the reason I say this is because for the Nets' sake, you're not giving this guy $60 million to play and hope that he's the Blake Griffin we used to see. You're giving this guy $1.2 million to play the second half of the season and the playoffs as long as he remains healthy. And so far this year, he has been healthy. It's just he got benched, obviously, because they were trying to avoid the injury and trying to trade him. Obviously, never happened. I just explained that. As long as he remains healthy, you're giving him $1.2 million to play for exactly that next half of the season because we're during the All-Star break, and hopefully, obviously, plays deep into the playoffs and is a key part of this team's bench. He might be a starter. I'm not sure. I would imagine he's probably going to be a bench piece. So you go ahead and boom, just like that. And for Blake Griffin, it's great for his party too. It's great for his side. He gets to join a contender. He gets the nothing against the Pistons, but he gets to leave a team in the Pistons that are obviously in a deep rebuild, a team that has no shot at winning the finals. He gets to join a contender. He gets to join a team that he has a chance at winning his first ever NBA Finals. And he also, let's just say this season, he finishes the season off really strong. He's a big contributor to this Nets Finals. Let's say the Nets do try to rework a deal. He could also enter free agency at the end of the year and say, you know what? I kind of want to explore my options and see if I can get another chance with another team to be the star player on that team. Or at least to be a key contributor. Because right now, I would say Blake Griffin is in that odd stage where he has moments, but he also has moments of why in the world do we have this guy on our roster. And right now this season, he's averaging 12 points per game, which isn't amazing. Not terrible. Not really Blake Griffin. He's not the Blake Griffin we used to know. It's still Blake Griffin, though. It's still a guy that could still, make plays and still go out there and be a solid pickup. So that's why I like this deal for the Brooklyn Nets. You're going out, getting a guy, he could help with the defense a little bit, getting a guy that, he's not going to put up 50 a night. He's not the Blake Griffin we saw with the Los Angeles Clippers. This is the newer version of Blake Griffin. We'll give you 10, 15 points off the bench. We'll go out there, give you some solid defense. We'll go out there and give you a good effort. He's going to give you effort. That's what he's going to do. And I think when it really comes down to it, I think when he realizes he has an opportunity to win his first ever finals ring, I think he's going to go out there and try his best to be a team player and work hard with the team and ultimately try to mesh well with Kyrie, Harden, and Kevin Durant. That's what he's going to be trying to do. And hopefully he remains healthy. Because if he remains healthy and he looks something like the Blake Griffin we saw a couple years ago, this move will be pivotal. Like I said, I'm not asking Blake Griffin to become the Blake Griffin we saw with the Los Angeles Clippers. Because, to be honest, Blake Griffin when he was the Los Angeles Clippers, he was putting up numbers. He was doing things we've never seen before in the NBA. Not even just numbers. Some of the dunks he was doing. His athleticism. Just his straight-up basketball smarts. We were seeing things that we never saw in the NBA when he was with the Clippers. So, I don't want to say I want him to be back from what he was doing with the Clippers. All I want to say is I hope that he can be a key contributor. He might be in the starting lineup, who knows? But if he's coming off the bench, be a solid, I would assume he's going to be the 6th, 7th man. Be a solid bench guy, solid depth, and go out there when it's your opportunity to get minutes, give 110% effort, and ultimately try to lead this team to victory. That's why I like this deal. And I said that on Friday. And I still live up to my word. I don't change. Sometimes I change. I did it with the Harden trade. I said at the beginning of the year, I don't want Harden. And he joined the Nets. I didn't like the trade. He's been dominant. I like the trade now. Sometimes I do change. And I really like James Harden. I've really started to like him. He's been a key. This has been key to the Nets' success was Harden. You can almost say he's been the team MVP. So I definitely like the Harden trade now. It's really paying off. And the Blake Griffin, same thing too. So far, I like it. Now, a couple weeks from now, I might not like it. But more than likely, I think I will. Because I think he's going to be solid. It's not the same Blake Griffin. But we were still getting a player that's going to go out there, give you the effort. And who knows? I'm just thinking of things. Maybe he likes this place. Maybe he, wasn't a big fan in Detroit. Was kind of just, physically and mentally not there every night. Just was kind of just all the outside noise of him being traded. Maybe he just wasn't able to focus 110%. 100% he wasn't able to really dial in and focus and wasn't able to just focus on basketball and focus on getting his team's wins. And maybe that's why his numbers increasingly dropped this year. It could also be the age. But maybe he joins the Nets and he's like a Harden. He joins the Nets and all of a sudden he's putting up big numbers because he wants to be here. Who knows? All I'm saying is we're getting a guy who I think could be, decent. He's not the Blake Griffin we used to see. He's nowhere close. But I still think we're getting a guy, a veteran in the locker room, and another guy who ultimately we're trying to piece this team together to ultimately get to that next level of winning a championship. And we also need a guy that can battle in the paint. A guy that can get up and get rebounds. Don't take my words here and twist them. And I'm not saying Blake Griffin's an excellent rebounder because that's just not what he does. But, if you're a guy like Blake Griffin, a guy who can fight in the paint, a guy who can jump up and grab boards, a guy who can do that. Right? So, things like that, I think will be key. And we're only giving him $1.2 million. Like I said, it works out for both parties. If this deal doesn't work out, he's not playing well, he's injured, whatever the case may be, then you go ahead and say, hey, you know what? We only wasted $1.2 million. That's not that much money compared to what we're giving these other guys, right? So you go ahead and do that. Blake Griffin, if he struggles, if it's not working, same thing for him. Then he enters free agency and tries to join another team. If it works and the Nets win a championship, well, the Nets win a championship, so does Blake Griffin. And maybe Blake Griffin goes ahead and says, you know what? Let me see if I could try not be Los Angeles Clippers Blake Griffin, but let me see. Maybe I'll join another team and see if I could semi-revamp my career a little bit here. Right? So it works for both parties. And that's what I said on Friday. I would like the deal under certain circumstances. I'm sometimes picky with deals. I will admit, I'm sometimes can be picky with deals. I can be picky with trades. I can be picky with sports either way. Whether I like it, it might be slightly off, but I do like this deal. So comment down below what you think of the deal. I think a lot of Nets fans would enjoy this deal. I think you're getting a guy who, will still put some effort out there and all I'm asking for is just for him to go out there, give me some quality minutes, get some baskets, spread the ball around, and ultimately what I want from being a suffering Nets fan my entire life, just for him. If he's going to help us win a championship, that's all I'm asking for. I don't care if he's putting up 20 a night or 5 a night. I don't care about the stats. If he's what's going to get us to a championship, then I'm okay with it. That's all I'm asking for. If it means he needs to get 20 points a night to win a championship, do that. I just want a championship. Because I've been a Nets fan my entire life. I've seen the years of 20 and 62, and I've seen recent teams making the playoffs. So Blake Griffin hopefully helps us get to that level that we ultimately all want to see. Or at least I want to see. A lot of NBA fans out there don't want to see the Nets win a championship, but obviously me being a Nets fan, it would be great to see. So let's read this quick article. Then I'm going to get into some of the numbers here. So Blake Griffin officially agrees to Nets contract after Pistons buyout. Free agent forward Blake Griffin on Sunday agreed to a contract with the Brooklyn Nets until the end of the season. His agent Sam Goldfeder told to Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN. Brooklyn confirmed the deal Monday morning. They wrote on their Twitter, official, the Brooklyn Nets have signed 6-time NBA All-Star Blake Griffin. Shams Charania of Stadium and The Athletic first reported the agreement Sunday. Griffin and Detroit Pistons agreed to a contract buyout Friday per Wojnarowski, who reported that the Nets, Golden State Warriors, Miami Heat, and Portland Trail Blazers were expected to have interest. The Pistons soon made the news official, and the New York Times' Mark Stein reported that Griffin would become an unrestricted free agent on Sunday. Numerous reporters, including Stein, Charnina, James L. Edwards III of The Athletic, soon replied that the Nets were considered strong contenders or frontrunners to sign Griffin. In the end, the Nets quickly inked the former Los Angeles Clipper. Brooklyn Nets expected to sign with the Nets. The Nets expected to sign Blake Griffin. There's a picture here with him, with Kevin Durant. It's a Photoshop picture. Griffin isn't the explosive, high-flying dunk artist who made 6 All-Star games and earned 5 All-NBA nods as injuries have slowed the 11-year NBA veteran down. However, the former Clipper and Pistons still could provide a boost to the Nets front court. He averaged 12.3 points on 36.5% shooting, 5.2 rebounds and 3.9 assists, and 31.3 minutes per game for the Pistons this season. Griffin joins a Nets team that rolled into the All-Star break, winning 10 of 11 games for a 24-13 record, good enough for second in the Eastern Conference by a 1/2 game behind the Philadelphia 76ers. The 31-year-old will play a complementary role in Brooklyn to the Big Three and should find himself with plenty of opportunities to excel. He's likely best served coming off the bench and adding some scoring punch to a second unit that could use another front court player. Ultimately, this is a great addition for the Nets, who are searching for their first NBA Finals appearance since 2003 and appear primed to make a deep playoff run. So, like I said, this entire time, as long as he goes out there, gives us a couple points, adds some front court depth, that's all I'm asking for. I never said in this podcast, and same thing here, that I want him to go out and give me 30 points. I want him to do that stuff, right? I'm just saying, I like this deal. Give us some front court depth. Give a guy who could still go out there and score, not as high as a level as he did with the Clippers, but still give us some front court depth. Because I will be honest, if there's one problem in the Nets team, it's our depth. Our depth, we have a lot of depth players. It's just consistently stringing together good shots and consistently scoring points coming off the bench. Because we've struggled with that this season. It's been the truth. We've really struggled this season. Consistently struggled this season getting good bench minutes out of our bench players. And that's not a terrible thing because teams sometimes struggle with that, but it's the truth. We've struggled this season. Guys like TLC, they've shown flashes, but not enough to convince me that they could be a solid bench player. So I think that's why you're getting a veteran Blake Griffin in there who's going to give you some points, who's going to go out there, give you effort, and ultimately try to make this team win a championship. Is this the Blake Griffin we saw with Los Angeles? No. That's what I say. So, Nets fans, if you're watching this, hear me out, right? This isn't the explosive Blake Griffin we've seen all the time, right? This is just not it. So, just, it's still Blake Griffin, but it's a little bit different. So, this is this picture here. I don't know if you can see it. It's all of them. Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant, and obviously Blake Griffin, all in Nets unis. I believe that all of them are in this Nets. All of those Kyries, KDs, and Hardens are all in the Nets unis. And then obviously Blake Griffin's is photoshopped, given that he never played with the Nets. So we'll see how it plays out. But I like the move. And, hopefully he just gives us the best opportunity to win. And hopefully he just goes out there and gives it his all. And like I said, whatever it takes to win a championship, I'm okay with it. So, Blake Griffin officially agrees to Nets contract after Pistons buyout. Let's look at some of the numbers here. I know I looked at the numbers last week on Friday, but might as well look at them again. Numbers are important, just to see. So this season, obviously 12.3 points per game, 5.2 rebounds per game, 3.9 assists per game this season. Obviously, the first part of his career, he played with the Clippers where, he had some excellent seasons, 24.1 points per game, 21, 21, 21. Then to 19 and then 24, and then things started to go downhill after that. He had the serious knee injury in 2019, didn't play much, only averaged 15 points per game, and in this season he's only averaged 12.3 points per game. He's a career 21.4 point per game kind of guy. He's a guy that in his prime of his career, he was getting up about 12 rebounds. And this is a guy, too, his rebounds numbers have obviously dropped. But this is a guy in his career, when he was in the prime of his career, he was getting about 8 to 9 rebounds a game. He had a couple 12, 10 rebound seasons. But this is a guy in his career, 8.7 rebounds per game. So he's a career 8.7 rebounder per game, which is kind of decent, considering we have DeAndre Jordan, who's not a great rebounder at center. His free throw percentage, 69.5%. He's never been a great free throw guy. Neither has he been a great three-point shooter. He once shot 40% in 2014, 2015. So he's not a great three-point shooter. His field goal percentage is okay, 49.5 for his career. He's declined the past 2 years. This season, he's actually up from last year, but I don't want to bring that up, really. I don't want to talk about that too much because it's this year, it's kind of tough. But obviously, when he was in the prime of his career with the Clippers and he was getting a lot of dunks, a lot of mid-range stuff, he was a mid 50% shooter. He was a 53 to 55% shooter, which is really, really good. And obviously, things started to decline, and he's dropped down to mid 40s and now obviously 30s, which is not that good at all. It's a guy who his numbers are going to drop a little bit here in this category. He's a guy that shoots about 16 times per game in his career. So they're going to drop a little bit. They're going to drop a little bit. He probably might only shoot 5, 6 times, 7 times a game. With the Nets, obviously, given that he's going to be off the bench, he's not going to be putting that much minutes up. It's a guy who's in his career averaged 34.7 minutes per game. So he can get those big minutes, but he can also get those littler minutes as well. So what I'm noticing here is although in the beginning part of his career he was able to stay healthy, he only once in his career, that was the first game of his career where he played, the first game of his career he played 82 games. The first season of his career he played 82 games. So 2010-2011, he's played a total of 642 games. He started all of them. That's something I just realized. If he's coming off the bench, this is going to be his first ever time coming off the bench in his career. Because he has started every single game in his career. 642 games played, all 642 of them started. So I just realized, this season, if he comes off the bench for the Nets, which more than likely he will, because it's a depth addition, this is going to be his first time coming off the bench. See? Those little facts here and there is where you can find them all in the numbers. Those are those little facts. So Blake Griffin, he started every game of his career. So he's coming off. He's more than likely he's going to come off the bench with the Nets because he's a depth addition, like I just said. This will be his first time coming off the bench. That's quite interesting. But obviously in Detroit, it just wasn't able to work out. He played about 3.5 years there because obviously he played half the season with Detroit in 2017-2018, half of it with Los Angeles because he got, traded there mid-season. Like I said, I'm not asking him to be Blake Griffin we saw in Los Angeles. I'm not asking him to be Blake Griffin we saw in Detroit at the beginning of his time in Detroit when he was putting up 24 points per game. That's very hard to do, especially when you're coming off the bench. What I'm asking for him is to just go out there, give it his all every game, ultimately give us front court depth, and just be a solid bench piece to this team that's already stacked. That's all I'm asking for. So, that's all I'm asking. I'm not asking him to put up 50 a night. I'm not asking for him to try and shoot as much as he can. Whatever he can do to help this team win, I'm okay with it. Blake Griffin, officially a member of the Brooklyn Nets. Coming up next, the final acquisition, I would say, of the MLB free agency has been made. Jake Odorizzi is a member of the Houston Astros. So, Jackie Bradley Jr. gets picked up. Jake Odorizzi gets picked up. Now the rosters are set. The season is right around the corner. I will tell you why this is a good deal for the Houston Astros coming up next. Alrighty, so Jake Odorizzi, Astros reportedly agreed to a 2-year contract. This happened. It happened. I'm pretty sure it happened on Saturday. He's on a 2-year contract. But by the way, before I start this topic, really quickly speaking of just when it happened and all that, there was a ton of news that came out this weekend just in the sports world. We had Blake Griffin. We had, obviously, Jake Odorizzi. We had Justin Simmons being the first big-name franchise tag in the NFL. We had Micah Hyde signing a 2-year extension with the Bills. We had a lot of news this weekend, including all the games that just happened. So I just want to make this clear. Comment down below if you would want me to talk about it. It happened on Friday. Micah Hyde signing the extension and Justin Simmons getting franchise tag both happened on Friday. So it's a little late. But if you still want to hear my opinion on it, and me talk about it, I can do that tomorrow on the podcast. So comment down below what you would think about it. And I would love to hear your comments, but I might still talk about it either way. Even if you don't want me to, or if you want me to, I might still talk about it either way, depending on how just the news goes anyway. But comment down below if you would be interested in me talking about that, because there was a ton of news, and I like I always say. And I want to get into this Odorizzi thing, but I don't want to make this too long. But like I always say, Blake Griffin with the Nets, I knew I had to talk about that. Jake Odorizzi to the Astros, I knew I had to talk about that. So, Micah Hyde and Justin Simmons, I think. And another thing with Jake Odorizzi is, given that the baseball season is coming around the corner, and given that baseball is one of the main sports going right now, I figured I'd talk about that over something about football. But comment down below if you would want to hear tomorrow talk about Justin Simmons getting franchise tag from the Broncos and Micah Hyde getting Bills. And those are two known players without the MLB, or without the NFL. So I'm sure you know who they are. It's not like there's some random no names that I'm going to be talking about. They're actually two safeties and two key playmakers for both their teams. So I was going to talk about that. Comment down below you think. I might still, either way, we'll probably talk about it. But I would like to hear your thoughts there. So now let's get into the Jake Odorizzi thing. So MLB season, I would say now is like the rosters and teams are it's officially like set now. And I've said this for weeks now, as we've all been saying, we've just been waiting, like, where's Jackie Bradley Jr. going to go? Where's Jake Odorizzi going to go? Are they going to go somewhere? Are they going to be a free agent? What's going to be the deal? I was actually wrong about both of them, because I said that I didn't think Jackie Bradley Jr. would get signed. Sure enough, he got signed. And I said Jake Odorizzi, I didn't think would get signed either. Sure enough, he got signed. And the reason I say that is because it started spring training. When teams, when spring training is we're already deep into spring training. For now, all of a sudden, these players to get picked up by teams, especially a pitcher who needs his time to get ready. For now, finally him get picked up. But Jake Odorizzi did get picked up by the Astros, and now I think we can all say free agency in the MLB, signings, other than maybe these little signings here and there, are pretty much over. The season is upon us. Obviously, you started it out in free agency with all the big names, the George Springers, the Trevor Bauers, one by one. Those guys went off the board. There was 2 remaining. Jackie Bradley Jr. signed with the Brewers. Jake Odorizzi just recently signed with the Astros on Saturday, so they are off the board. Now, rosters, the players that should be on teams are on teams. Obviously, there's still some free agencies out there, but the big name guys, the guys that we all were expecting to sign with teams, have now officially signed. So, Jake Odorizzi, former pitcher for the Minnesota Twins, pitched with the Twins last season, is now a member of the Houston Astros. I think it's a good move. I think this is a good move for the Astros. And the reason I say this is because obviously, the Astros last season, and I'll tell you why I don't like the Astros, obviously, since their whole cheating thing. Whether A.J. Hinch and Alex Cora are there or not, I still don't like them. I don't like the Astros. Whether A.J. Hinch isn't even with them anymore, and neither is Alex Cora. I still don't like the Astros. The fact that they cheated, just that kind of stuff. But I don't want to get into the whole cheating thing. We've talked about it so much. It's a couple years old now. I don't want to get into that. But what I was gonna say is really ever since that season, Cole obviously got released, and now you still got Greinke, or not Cole got released, but Cole obviously signed with the Yankees, and obviously Greinke, is still there and stuff like that. The Astros, I would say for the most part, have been, for the Astros, it hasn't been. Their pitching hasn't been amazing. You obviously had Verlander there and Greinke and stuff like that, but for the most part, it hasn't been amazing. And you could tell that the Astros, without Garrett Cole, were missing just like one thing. And they got to the ALCS, and obviously they ended up losing to the Tampa Bay Rays in 7 games. Rays ended up obviously losing to the eventual champions, Los Angeles Dodgers. But it seemed like throughout the playoffs, throughout the season, they were missing that one guy. And I'm not talking about going out and trying to sign a guy that's going to make an impact like Garrett Cole, but it seemed like they were missing a guy that's going to give them depth. A guy that's going to go out there, give them a strong 6-7 innings, a strong 6 to 7 Ks, 1 or 2 runs allowed, someone like that. It seemed like they were missing that because they had Greinke, they had Verlander there for a little bit, and it just seemed like there was a missing part. And we see this sometimes in sports, and I've always said this. I say this all the times. There's certain pieces, like the Bills, for example, they're a team that are 1 or 2 pieces away from making a Super Bowl run. Right, there's a couple teams that are a couple pieces away, right? So obviously, there's always a couple different things. But in regards to the Astros here, I would say they were 1 or 2 pieces away that season from getting back to the World Series, and one of those pieces was kind of that depth kind of pitcher, that guy that might be lower in your rotation, but still is going to be a pivotal part, and that's what Jake Odorizzi is going to bring to the table. Jake Odorizzi has had a very under-the-radar, successful career so far, and he's had a very good career. He's been very under the radar, and I've said this entire offseason, watch out for this guy. He's going to be a solid asset for wherever he goes to, and that's why I think it's a good move. I've always thought Jake Odorizzi, and there's always those players. You got some of those big hyped-up players, you got some of those players that aren't as hyped up, and you got some of those players that are right in the middle. People know them, people don't, whatever the case may be, liked, hated, whatever the case may be. Jake Odorizzi, I've always thought for the past couple of years, has been kind of one of those under-the-radar kind of guys. One of those guys that are under the radar. One of those guys that's not very known. One of those guys that's, hasn't been, not. And maybe that's because he was pitching for the Twins, and he was playing for a small market team. Maybe that's because it. But, for really what I've been saying is, really, in my opinion, this is still a guy that can go out there. I know he's 30 years old, and I know he's getting slightly older. This guy still can go out there. And maybe he made the All-Star game, obviously, in 2019, obviously. And maybe it's because he played for the Royals, and he played for the Rays, and it just mostly played for the Twins. And those aren't your biggest market teams. Those are relatively smaller market teams. Maybe that's why he's not gotten known. But I don't know why. For some reason, Jake Odorizzi, his entire career, has been under the radar, underappreciated, underrated pitcher in the MLB. And you can make the argument he's one of the more underrated pitchers in the MLB. And maybe that's because he was playing with the Rays, and those were, some of the times where they had some really good pitchers over there like Snell and them. And maybe when he was most recently playing with the Twins, and, they had guys like Kenta Maeda and guys like that, and all those guys were the bigger names. Maybe that's because of it. Maybe that's because he's never been a true number one with a team. But I've always thought while watching baseball and always about hearing about this guy is such a good pitcher. He's got a good off-speed, got a really nice off-speed pitch. He can throw the fastball if he wants. It's good, but got a really nice off-speed pitch. He's got good movement on his fastball and good movement on his pitches. Is he the best pitcher out there? No. Is he one of the most underrated pitchers in the league? I would say he is. So I think the Astros are getting a really good guy, and they're getting him for a low price too. And a lot of times, that's why it took him this long to sign a deal. He's not that known as a Trevor Bauer. He's not known like that. He's under the radar, has been with smaller market teams, and he joins a Houston Astros team that I would say, since losing Garrett Cole, could use a pitcher like a Jake Odorizzi. Good move for the Houston Astros. Jake Odorizzi, Astros reportedly agreed to a 2-year contract. I will read this quick article here. Free agent pitcher Jake Odorizzi reportedly agreed to a 2-year contract with the Houston Astros on Saturday. ESPN's Jeff Passan relayed news of the pact, which includes a player option for a 3rd year. MLB Network's John Heyman reported partial terms. So full terms on Odorizzi deal aren't known, but incentives. He has a chance to make $30 million over 2 years. That would include a buyout on his 3rd-year player option. Heyman noted Odorizzi's signing came in part because of Framber Valdez has a finger injury that could keep him out for the entire season. The 30-year-old Odorizzi impressed in 2 seasons with the Minnesota Twins following his trade from the Tampa Bay Rays in February 2018. But he just threw 13.2 innings in a pandemic-shortened season, 2020 season, because of injuries. And that is true. He had some injuries last season. But when healthy, he can be one of the more underrated pitchers. Though the Twins were among teams that were in contact with Odorizzi, according to the Analytics Network, they couldn't reach an agreement. In an all-star campaign in 2019, he finished 15-7 with a 3.51 ERA in 159 innings. A first-round pick by the Milwaukee Brewers in 2008, number 32 overall. Odorizzi made his MLB debut with the Kansas City Royals in 2012 and then moved on to Tampa Bay later in the year. Following the departure of Odorizzi, the Twins are left with a rotation that consists of J.A. Happ, Kenta Maeda, Jose Barrios, Michael Pineda, and Randy Dobnak. Houston was in need of a rotation depth in addition. Valdez injury, obviously I might have mentioned this earlier, but obviously Verlander had the Tommy John surgery last September, and he likely won't pitch this year either. General Manager James Click told reporters in December that the 2-time American League Cy Young winner is hopeful to return in 2021, but he's also said it would be an aggressive timetable. Aside from last year, Odorizzi has otherwise been reliable throughout his career. The right-handed averaged 30 starts and 165 innings per year from 2014 to 2019. The Astros will count on that version of Odorizzi in 2021 to help keep pace with the Oakland Athletics in the American League West. So like I said, this is a team, this is kind of a depth addition. Verlander obviously getting older. Tommy John, not great. Still got Greinke there, but Greinke can't do it all together. And obviously you had the other pitcher with finger injury. So this is a guy that's going to come in, and once again, he's going to be like a number 2 starter. And I'll tell you what, the Twins are missing a lot here. Outside of Barrios and Kenta Maeda, the Twins are not in a good position pitching-wise. I mean, you got J.A. Happ, who's just not the same. Michael Pineda and Randy Dobnak, who just aren't. I mean, Michael Pineda is not the same either. He never was that good with the Yankees. He had his moments. Michael Pineda's flashes. Moments of showing play, like showing really good, and in moments of just looking lost. So good acquisition for the Astros. They realize, you know what? We have a guy, Verlander, our ace, currently probably. Tommy John surgery. Like I mentioned earlier, Tommy John surgery. And, get a guy like a Jake Odorizzi who could be a good addition. Guys that's going to go out there and give you 6-7 strong innings. 1 or 2 run ball. He's not going to give you 8 innings of shutout baseball every night. Guy with good off speed. Veteran, been around the league. Try to help you compete and stay up with the very underrated and scary Oakland Athletics team. There's going to be a lot of teams this year. Stay tuned for that video. The power rankings video. I'll do it on opening day, obviously. That's going to be a very good video. Can't wait to do it. There's going to be a lot of fun teams to watch this year in the MLB, and the Oakland Athletics are one of them. And if the Astros, like said in this article, if they want to keep up with them, because we know the Astros aren't the same. Without Cole, without Verlander, without Springer, they're not the same. And Altuve, since the whole, cheating incident and, the buzzer theory, he hasn't been the same either. So, things aren't lining up well for the Astros right now. So you're getting a guy, 30 years old. Sometimes when you're 30, you pitch like you're 30. Odorizzi's one of those guys that, we know he's 30 years old, but he doesn't pitch like he's like 30. He pitches like he's a little younger. And I don't know how to really explain that. I guess the best way I could explain that is it's not like his velocity has dropped over the years. He's maintained consistency. Sometimes pitchers, when they get into their 30s, and just players in general, their consistency, their numbers start to drop. Odorizzi, I wouldn't say, has really done that. And he stayed healthy in his career except last season. So, Jake Odorizzi, good pickup there. Let's see here. So Jake Odorizzi, this is his career stats. In his career, he is he's 62 and 56 win-loss record, 3.92 ERA, 995 Ks, and a WHIP of 1.24. Obviously, he played 5 seasons with the Rays, 3 with the Twins, and now this season with the Twins, or obviously this season, with the Astros. For the most part, he's been healthy except last season, which I don't think is a problem. But I mean, this is a guy too that he's a 3.92 ERA. A guy that's going to go out there give you solid innings, 3 ERA, 3.51 ERA. He's going to do that. He's going to go out there give you solid innings. He's going to give you 25, 30 starts a season, which is really good. He's been maintained a consistent whip throughout his career. He's a 1,042.1 thirds innings pitched. He averaged about 115.8, average innings pitched a year. 111 strikeouts in his career, 995 strikeouts in his career, 111 in his season average. He keeps the walks down. His walk to strikeout ratio is very good. His strikeout to walk ratio is really good. It's about 2.8 strikeouts until he walks someone, which is really good. And the season when he went up against the All-Star year, even last year, his walk to strikeout to walk ratio was really good. I mean, 4, 3.4, now 4. See if that can keep on going up. He's not going to allow too many home runs. He's earned runs. He like I said, he's about a 3 earned run kind of guy. So he's gonna let up some of those runs, but he's gonna be consistent, and that's one of the things. He's very consistent. He's not amazing. He's not great, but he's a consistent and a solid pitcher to add to what is kind of a little bit of a slim Astros rotation right now. You're adding a very good piece. So a good move for the Houston Astros. And we'll see how it plays out for Jake Odorizzi and that combination right there. So that's kind of it for Jake Odorizzi there. Comment down below your thoughts on the deal. Actually, comment down below your thoughts on Blake Griffin and the Jake Odorizzi deal. And then let's get into some of the New York sports stuff, college basketball, whatever you want to say it. I'll get through some of the games here. Obviously on Friday, Loyola Chicago won. Actually on Saturday, Creighton won, Arkansas won, Illinois won, Virginia won, Providence won, Purdue won, Alabama won, Loyola Chicago won, Notre Dame won, and Oklahoma State won. Kentucky also won against South Carolina on Saturday. Kentucky won 92-64. We moved to 9-15 on the season. We finished out the regular season 9-15. Played really well. Looked really good, especially in that second half. Had a big second half. Now we head into the SEC tournament, and we'll see how that plays out. Big game for BJ Boston as well. Yesterday, Texas won, Michigan State won, Baylor won, Loyola Chicago won, Iowa won, and Houston won. And today we got Gonzaga and St. Mary's for the AP Top 25 games. I'll give Gonzaga the win. Let's get this up here. As for the MLB over the weekend, Yankees lost on Saturday 3-2. And then yesterday they won 4-0. But these are the rest of the games. The Tigers won, Royals won, Rangers won, Rockies won, A's, Mariners tied, Padres won, White Sox won, Cubs won, Nationals won, Mets won, Blue Jays won. And then yesterday the Royals won, Giants won, Diamondbacks won, Rangers won, A's won, Angels won, Rockies won, Mets, Marlins tied, Tigers won, Braves won, Cardinals won, Pirates won, and Twins won. And Yankees also won 4-0. So thanks to a Gardner grand slam. And today's games, we got Marlins, Cardinals. I'll give Marlins the win. Nationals, Mets, I'll give Nationals the win. Royals, A's, I'll give Royals the win. Giants, Diamondbacks, give Giants the win. Indians, Mariners, I'll give Indians the win. Rangers, Cubs, give Cubs the win. Dodgers, White Sox, give Dodgers the win. Brewers, Angels, give Angels the win. And Reds, Rockies, give Rockies the win. So those are your MLB games today. Yankees all have a day off today as well there. Yesterday we had the All-Star game in the NBA. Team LeBron won 170-150. So obviously that it. Stephen Curry won the 3-point contest as well. And so Sabonis won the skills challenge. Curry won. Anthony Simmons, I think, won the dunk contest, and Curry won the 3-point contest. So pretty good there. So, yeah, Anthony Simmons won the dunk contest and Curry won the 3-point contest. And obviously, Team LeBron, Stephen Curry won a 3-point contest. Team LeBron won the All-Star game. And let's see here. Let's get to NHL. So, over the weekend for the NHL games, the Golden Knights won, Oilers won. This is on Saturday. Golden Knights won, Oilers won, Kings won, Ducks won, Stars won, Canucks won, Coyotes won, Canadiens won, Panthers won, Penguins won, and Islanders won. Rangers also won on Saturday 6-3, which moved us to 10-9-3 on the season. But then yesterday we couldn't get the win. We lost 5-2, but these were the rest of the games. The Senators won, Predators won, Capitals won, Hurricanes won, Devils won, Lightning won, and Islanders won. And the Rangers lost yesterday 5-1. We moved to 10-10-3 on the season. We started off really well. Sabanich out with a great goal, and then just were flat out terrible after that. Today's games, we got the Wild, Golden Knights, I'll give Wild the win. Blues, Sharks, I'll give Blues the win. Coyotes, Avalanche, give Avalanche the win. Oilers, Senators, give Oilers the win. Canucks, Canadiens, give Canadiens the win. And then we got the Kings, Ducks, I'll give Kings the win. So those are your games there. And then fantasy hockey, and that will finish off. Obviously, fantasy basketball, obviously nothing new there. But fantasy hockey, I lost 150 to 150 to 121. So lost there. Snaps my 4-game win streak, but I'm 5-3, still in a good position. And these are who I got going. Today I've got going Anzes Kopitar, Braden Shen, Jeff Petrie, Shea Theodore, Shea Weber, Adam Larson, Jacob Scheikron, and Brock Bossier, and John Gibson as the goalie. So that's fantasy hockey. So fantasy hockey, I'm 5-3, which is still a good record, but not a great performance. But hopefully I can turn it around here. I was on a 4-game win streak there, so it's time. Hopefully I can start a new win streak. It's always the goal. But yeah, that's what I got for the podcast here today. Comment down below if tomorrow if you would want me to talk about Justin Simmons and Micah Hyde. Like I said, I might do it either way. But I would still like to hear. I'll probably do it either way, but I'll still like to hear your opinion on it. Blake Griffin, Jake Odorizzi, would love to hear your opinion on those deals as well in the comments. In the comment section there. So that would be good. But yeah, with all that being said, that will do it for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.